is no longer acceptable for Russians. So I think the era of managed democracy is over.
Hello, I'm Christy Freeland, and you're watching my new show, The Freeland File. Every week, I'll be interviewing some of the newsmakers who are reshaping the world we live in today. For my first show, I've traveled to Moscow to bring you an exclusive interview with Mikhail Prokhorov, the Russian billionaire. If you've heard of Prokhorov, it's probably as the owner of the NBA basketball team, the Nets, or even as a rather infamous international playboy. But Prokhorov is in the news today because he surprised Russians by throwing his hat in the ring in the presidential elections scheduled for March, at this very, very uncertain and decisive moment in Russian politics. Some people in Moscow are saying that Prokhorov's candidacy isn't real, that he's just a puppet in an elaborate Kremlin game. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, here's a little about Prokhorov.
Mikhail Prokhorov is one of the richest men on earth, number 32 on Forbes' list of the world's billionaires. He made a fortune in mining and made his name in America in 2010 when he bought the New Jersey Nets. You won't see him courtside very often. He's better known for throwing lavish parties, backing Russian sports teams, performing stunts on a jet ski. Now he wants to be president of Russia. Prokhorov made his money as a partner in one of the world's largest nickel mines. He sold just before the global financial crisis, securing a $17 billion fortune. He's never held political office and was booted from the leadership of a key opposition party. Still, he's got his sights set on the Kremlin. That might not be easy because of this man, Vladimir Putin, who also casts himself as a big-time sportsman. The ex-KGB man was president and now prime minister, and wants to be president again. Putin held a famous meeting with the richest men in Russia and warned them to stay out of politics. Most heeded the advice. Some who didn't wound up in prison. But an unprecedented series of demonstrations by thousands of Russians, like this one, have raised the question of whether Russians are fed up with Putin's politics. Many have denounced the latest parliamentary elections, accusing the Kremlin of widespread voting fraud. Putin was booed by an arena full of sports fans. Could anti-Putin sentiment sweep Mikhail Prokhorov into power? Prokhorov broke into Russian politics only last May when he was elected leader of the Right Cause Party, which espouses economic liberalization and pro-Western views. But Prokhorov soon found himself at odds with his own party. He said it was being manipulated by secret Putin allies, and in September, he was kicked out. Then in December, Prokhorov announced he would run for president. Here's a twist. Prokhorov's run could work in Putin's favor. The main threat to Putin's United Russia Party comes from the Communist Party, and Prokhorov could split the protest vote. But if the billionaire tycoon garnishes a significant percentage of the vote, he could land some kind of role in the new government and in the Kremlin.
Before interviewing Prokhorov, I asked some of my friends in Moscow what was the single most important question to ask him. What they all said was, why is he doing this? He's a guy who has everything. He's a billionaire, he has a wonderful life, he's moved into the international arena with his purchase of the Nets. Why is he throwing his hat into the snake pit of Russian politics? Here's what he had to say.
In spring, I made a decision to be a leader of political party. But my first step in career was not very successful because I had a very strong conflict with Kremlin and I had to leave. So I spent some time in thinking what is going on and I made a decision to get back to the presidential race. Why? Because I think it's really a window of opportunity. It's just in the air. It's a hot debate in the Russian society. And maybe it's first time for the last 20 years. For me, maybe it sounds a little bit corny, but I love my country. And really, I see a lot of problems, and I know the answers. And to quote Abraham Lincoln, government should be of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we have had government at the expense of the people. So it's time to change. and stability at any price is no longer acceptable for Russians. So I think the era of managed democracy is over.
Did something change this fall in Russia?
It's just, I think, natural development of any country. You do remember 20 years ago, a lot of ideas of democracy, a lot of willingness to live like Europeans, like Americans. But do remember that people who were on the top of the power, they were very Soviet people, and they know democratic and market economy by books or by the Western presentation. And we need like 20 years in order to understand what is democracy, what is market economy, and we now have another population. We have another generation of people. They don't know who is Lenin. That's very important. What is the Soviet Union was? So now we have all the pieces to move very fast for the real democratic country.
How fast? Could there be an orange revolution in Russia?
I hope not, because
You hope not? No, you don't want an orange revolution?
I am against any revolution because I know the history of Russia. Every time we have revolution, it was a very bloody period after. So I like very fast evolution. Just we need to sit on the table, liberal wing, conservative wing, we need to sit together to speak in a very open way and make a decision what is the future of Russia. So I am for evolution and I am against of revolution.
Is revolution possible though?
I hope not. I'll do my best in order to make fast evolution instead of fast revolution.
Do you think you have a realistic chance of winning?
My goal is to win, but I have long-term strategy and short-term strategy. For the short-term strategy, I want to address all my ideas to the audience. And I want to receive maximum support on this presidential election. It will be a great platform to make a political party. And at the end of the day, I'm sure I'll win. I was a winner in business, and I want to be a winner in politics.
Some people have suggested that you and your candidacy is part of a rather elaborate Kremlin game, and that by running, you're actually doing a disservice to this liberal wing by splitting the liberal vote and creating less of a chance for a strong liberal candidate to emerge. Are you worried about that?
No, because it was the same story when I was the head of the Liberal Party. It was the same story. And I think it's better to show the practical steps than to explain all the time. It's better to show who I am, what is my ideas, and who my supporters, etc., etc. So I'm very flexible on this.
So you don't worry that you're a puppet being manipulated by the Kremlin?
Like I think I showed once in September last year that I am not a puppet. So I'll show during this president election the same picture.
You've spoken quite a bit, Mikhail, about how politics in Russia happens inside the elite, and that the elite is not monolithic, that there are debates within it.
Yeah.
Has there been a change inside the elite in recent months? Has the elite changed its majority view?
I think it's a very good question. I think that a liberal part of the elite are bigger and bigger from day to day, because I have a lot of calls from different level, and they really express their support for my candidacy.
Were you surprised by how badly the party of power did in the parliamentary elections? Do you think they made technical mistakes?
I think the major mistake was made on the party council committee in September. It was very ugly organized because this rotation between Putin and Medvedev, like maybe 15–20% of the Russian population, most of them they live in the big cities, they're really shocked how it was done. And maybe it was the biggest mistake.
What was so shocking about it? Why did it offend people?
Because we had an agreement 3.5 years ago. That means we have no any kind of decision making. And this is for the people, for the thinking people, it looks very cynical.
Looks very cynical.
Cynical, yeah.
Didn't you know that Putin was cynical? Why was that such a surprise?
I'm not sure about like Putin is cynical, Medvedev is cynical. I think the conservative part of the elite is very cynical for the time being. So that's why we have so hot debate inside of the elite. They need stability at any price, and they're ready to pay any price, even instead of the future development. They want to fix the current position, and just, I think, changes are inevitable.
When was the last time you spoke to Putin?
It was 1st of April when I showed him my mobile. It's my new car.
And did he like it?
And he had a test drive.
Do you think he supports your candidacy? Is he happy about it? Does he see you as a potential successor?
I think he made it in public during his press conference. He told to the audience that I'm a serious opponent. I'm happy.
Has he been a good leader for Russia, Putin?
I think I'm better.
But what about the past? What's your view about his past?
I think for the first 5-6 years he was very efficient. But later we need to change the strategy from stability to the very active movement in all the direction. For me, the most important influence is competition. But we continue the same policy, and we are lagging behind compared with other world.
Do you believe that Putin is personally corrupt?
I'm not a judge, and personally I have no any evidence of this. And in order to accuse somebody, you need to have a strict evidence.
Do you have a suspicion?
Suspicion, it's maybe more for women. I'm a very practical man, and just I like to have evidence.
You said in a recent interview that you paid your last bribe 15 years ago. I guess the interview was last year, so it would be 16 years ago. What was that a bribe for?
It's top secret.
How have you managed in this system of endemic corruption? How have you managed to continue to operate without paying bribes?
When you're on the certain level, you have more than enough opportunity to work in a transparent way. But you need to be very strong, very influenced. In this case, you can be transparent and to act here with no corruption. And sometimes people, they told me, like, you are very successful. And my goal that we have in our country, not like 100 people or 200 people very successful. I want to have millions of Russians very successful and having social life to be successful.
In the next part of my conversation with Mikhail Prokhorov, did you need to become a billionaire to be able to stop paying bribes? Is that the threshold?
Maybe that's true, to a certain extent.
The billionaire talks about corruption in the Russian political class, what a Prokhorov cabinet might look like, and his ideas for how to reform the Russian electoral system.
I believe no one should be above the law, but we shouldn't be taking revenge on our leaders.
Watch for part 2 of my exclusive interview with Mikhail Prokhorov, billionaire and surprise candidate in the Russian presidential elections. I'm Chrystia Freeland, and this is the Freeland File.